Hey everyone, welcome. Adam here to another video. And I want to do a quick sort of, before I do any reviews or any discussions about Blu-rays or DVDs or 4Ks, I want to just let you know my setup so you know like where I'm coming from. Also, if you want to maybe utilize this video to help tune in the picture calibration for your TV or your projector, some of the stuff that I talk about will help you directly set the appropriate brightness, contrast, stuff. Now, I have an OLED TV. I also have a projector. Now, the settings that you would set for picture, for brightness, color, contrast, will be different for a projector and a TV. It doesn't really matter, I think, what TV. LCDs, LEDs, and OLEDs kind of operate in a similar fashion. What is important is if it's HDR enabled. That's the difference, the modifier. And that pertains to my situation. So if you have a HDR enabled OLED, LCD, LED, then you'll be able to utilize this video to help set the appropriate picture calibration settings. One thing I see a lot of people, especially on YouTube, recommending is use this disc, this Video Essentials disc or whatever it is, to help calibrate the color, the contrast, the brightness and all this, and to get the picture perfect. Well, unfortunately, I don't subscribe to that theory. I used to really believe in that. But then I learned a little bit more about the process of mastering and transferring to a disc, from either a film or a digital stream, and realized that actually they're useless, those discs. Those either Blu-rays or DVDs or whatever it is, no matter what format you're working from, either Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, it doesn't matter. They all operate the same. So I've put together here like 7 tips, if it were, to help you set up your TV for the best picture that you can then view the way the studio or director wanted you to view it on. Again, this video really more or less talks about sort of displays that have HDR enabled, and projectors are slightly different because they throw the light to the screen rather than throw the light to you. So they operate in a very different way. So I'm not really talking about projectors, but you can utilize some of the information in this. So first off, scratch those calibration discs. If somebody says use this video to help calibrate the colors of your display, like all you're doing is calibrating it to that specific video. It will look great on that specific video, and it will look like dog shit on another video. So I don't really subscribe to using calibration discs. I used to, but I don't. I also for sound, which I'll go at the end of this video a little bit about, I have a Pioneer VSA EO6 THX receiver, so that helps me set up my speakers, which I have. And I've talked about this in a previous video, but just so you know what I'm displaying my content on. And I try and set this up across any player that I will play. So it could be the PS4 or the 4K Blu-ray player or a DVD player. I tend to use just the 4K player for discs, and then if digital content, I play it on the PlayStation. So here's my 7 tips for the picture perfect calibration. So first off, the exterior lighting is so important. You go to the movie theater, you're in darkness, and there's a projector behind you beaming a light, to the screen, and you're sitting within that light effectively. So you're seeing it in a very different condition than your living room. Where if you're on a TV, the light is actually beaming at you and it's completely different, but the exterior lighting is very important. Ambient lighting, it will make or break you watching your display, because it will lower the contrast and the color and really desaturate and kind of warp what you're viewing if there's bright lighting. If you've got your curtains open and there's light streaming through, I would say set your ambient lighting so it's dark but not too dark, you know. And you definitely don't want like sunlight beaming through across your TV. Put your TV somewhere where the window is behind your TV. So yes, it will beam in, and you shut your curtains, and then you've probably got the right sort of amount of light within the room. The room lighting is very important. Tip number 1 is control your ambient lighting. Number 2, the sharpness feature. I know a lot of people, you go to somebody's home and they haven't calibrated their TV properly, and you know, it kind of looks really bad, and you're not surprised. You look at them and they've got glasses on, you know, because their eyesight's failing, because they're viewing content and their eyes have adjusted to this display. Every TV that you buy nowadays, it's 2025 as we're recording this video, will have a store and home mode set within the menu. You need to go find it, probably under like general or support or features or somewhere within the menu of the telly, and it will say demo, or it will say store, or it will say home, and you want to switch it to the home, because when you go and view them in a shop, they are set to demo or store mode, and it has everything ramped up because it's pretty bright in that store, and they want the colors to pop as massively as they can. They really want to show you like a really good image, but it's not the proper way to view imagery at home. So make sure first off that you're on the home setting. Secondly, sharpness. I don't know if people are aware of this, and it really makes no difference what medium you're viewing this on, could even VHS, but sharpness is inherent already within the signal of the video that you're watching. You're watching it on 4K, you're watching it on VHS. They're the two extremes, as it were, the ends of the spectrum. The sharpness has already been set by the transfer of the source to the disc or the tape, so you don't need to apply any more sharpness. The only reason I would say you want to have any type of sharpness, which at a maximum is like 5 if it goes out of 0 to 100, is if you're watching a VHS, because the low resolution, the picture isn't as sharp as it should be, just because of the format. And so adding a little bit of sharpness to define lines and make it a little bit more poppy is the only instance that you ever need to apply sharpness. Okay, if you're watching a 4K, a Blu-ray, a DVD, or even a Laserdisc, put that sharpness on 0, because the sharpness has already been set. You're adding more sharpness, all you're doing is highlighting any noise in that video feed. That is all. You're over sharpening and defining lines and creating like flicker and anti-aliasing within the monitor, you know, what you're viewing, and you're making the signal worse, if anything. So just knock off the sharpness altogether. Have sharpness set to 0. The third tip I would say is turn off every auto feature you can find in the picture menu. You want like dynamic contrast or auto contrast, turn that off. You want any noise reduction feature turned off, any motion feature turned off. Anything that says auto, turn off, because your TV is processing the signal as a per basis and might not be displaying it properly the way you want it to be displayed. So I would just turn everything off that says auto. So anything like auto brightness, auto contrast, auto color, set color to native as well. If there is an auto, custom, or native, set native. That's the best option on your TV. Again, with these tips, you don't need a calibration disc at all, because everything is logically done for your TV. You know, modern TVs, OLEDs, LEDs, LCDs, all behave in the same way. They might display color slightly different or brightness slightly different, or have, you know, one has a higher contrast ratio than another, but the way they process film imagery is all the same. So you don't want them doing any auto manipulation, because now you're changing it specific to the model of the TV. And when everything's auto, now it does change per model of your TV, and you're moving further away from what you should be watching it on. So any anti-noise, anti-contrast, anti-color, like auto stuff, all off. If you're lucky enough that your telly has a gamma feature, you want to set 2.2 because that's the industry standard. If there is an auto gamma or 1886, I think there is, you want to make sure you can select 2.2. Not all TVs give the user the ability to select a gamma rating, but you definitely want 2.2, so you're in line with the industry standard across any format. Usually you find them on 4K TV with HDR only. The tip number 4, I'd say, is color and saturation, really, and tone. They're kind of one and the same. The color that is within a picture of a Blu-ray or a 4K, again, has already been set. So your color slider should be at 50%. It shouldn't need to go higher or lower, because if it's out of 100, setting it in the middle will basically just display the color as it is on the disc. You're not adding more color to show, and you're not decreasing any color. If your TV has a good color output, 50% is all you should ever need. Backing that up with a tone map, if you go into the menu for picture and you see tone, and it will say something maybe like cinema or soft or blue, or you want to set the tone of the picture to warm. If you have a warmth setting, maybe that might be called cinema, but the TV I have has 3 warmth settings, so I set it on the highest warmth, and all that does is like change the color of the pixels to a slightly warmer tone or a cooler tone, but changing it to warm will replicate a projected image, and changing it to normal or cool reflects basically just whatever the TV will display in terms of color. But I do find that the warmth setting is a lot better if you're trying to replicate the cinema look. Okay, number 5, contrast and brightness. Now again, contrast and brightness within the film you're watching, within the disc you're watching, be it a 4K, a Blu-ray, a DVD, a Laserdisc, a VHS, the brightness and contrast has already been set again. They've done this color grade and the toning already on the disc. You don't need to alter it away from what they give you. So your contrast slider is basically telling the TV how bright white will be. That is it. So the higher the slider, the brighter the whites, the more sort of gap between the brightest white and the darkest black there will be. But if you start to lower your slider from 100, or its maximum setting, you're then bringing down that brightness on your TV. Now, CRT TVs behave differently. I'm not talking about them, but LED, LCD and OLED TVs all behave in the same way in terms of how it sort of manipulates white, how it shows white. Obviously, there is a 255 industry standard of white, what is classed as white, and you can use applications if you want to attach to your screen and go, that's the perfect white. But I tend to find putting the contrast up to 100 will tell the TV to show white at its whitest white, meaning the black then difference will be at its blackest black. And now I don't really need to set a brightness. It should be 50% in the middle of the slider, and if it seems overly dark, then you can just move it 5 aside either way. I think mine it goes to 45 or possibly even 40. But the black level within a video signal, it's already been set. So if you change your brightness up or down, you're changing what they intend you to watch that film at. Basically what I'm saying is you can set up the picture calibration without needing to see any video accompanying what your button pressing is. You don't need them. You can check various different video signals after you've set up your monitor. But once you set it up, you are displaying exactly how that disc it is on the disc. You're basically telling the TV to show me white at its brightest white, show my blacks at its blackest black, give me the color as a standard, and show me the sharpness that is inherent on the disc. That's basically all you're doing. If you start adding sharpness or lowering your contrast and upping your brightness, you're now diluting and changing what is already encoded on that disc. And if you set up your TV, be it OLED, LCD, or LED, to what I've just said, right, these settings here, you will find that you see whatever you're viewing with a more filmic look now. It actually gives this filmic look. It doesn't look overly sharp and full of noise. Colors are actually probably correct. Like, go check out like Blu-ray or 4K discs like True Lies, Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2, ones where you thought, oh, this coloring is all teal like Batman when it first came out. Well, actually, no, it's actually not. It's actually properly set now to the way it was before, because you've set up your monitor according to like a standard, and that everything that is on that disc will show you. When you start changing the color tone, the contrast, the brightness, you will now see your disc very differently. And I think that's attributed as to why a lot of people, when some 4K releases come out and go, ooh, there's like a tealy orange thing applied here, like a filter, and I think it's actually your TV. Like, I have Batman on 4K, I don't see this tealy black, black is black, basically. I don't see what everyone else is raving about. So there are a load of HDR YouTube videos that you can, once you set up your monitor, you can then go and verify your settings are correct, because you should not see any blown out whites. You should see a nice gradual, bright white, dark black. Colors should look natural and not like vivid. If you've got your brightness of your room set at the right level, then you don't need to increase the color, on your TV. The only time I'd say maybe have a profile for a different, different settings is if you're playing a VHS tape, which has low resolution, it has low color. It's very low quality effectively, and so therefore you can boost things a little bit within a small margin to make it kind of look a little bit better, changing the tone, because the signal might be composite, changing the sharpness because it's low resolution, upping maybe color, maybe deepening the blacks a little bit more. Like, they're the only changes I'd make, and that will make your VHS look a little bit better to what you've probably seen it in the past. Obviously, the way white is handled between an OLED and then an LCD and an LED are slightly different. OLEDs have a whiter white ability. They have like a higher contrast ratio. But on my TV, with these settings, everything looks like it should look. And it actually has a filmic look quality to it. And like watching a broadcast off the TV, watching a streaming service, you will now begin to see the differences of how certain studios are mastering their discs, or certain, streaming services are handling their content, by upping or lowering certain values. Like watching the Ozark series, and the first few episodes are pretty dark. Like, it's all and it's not really set at night. It's just the contrast is pretty crushed blacks. Very dark imagery almost, and I think that's the way that tone of that series has started to look. But no matter what content you're watching, your eyes adjust to the display, and if you're viewing content on an uncalibrated TV, your eyes have adjusted to that. And when you change it to the settings I've mentioned, you might see a difference and go, ooh, I don't like that. But that's because you haven't given your eyes the chance to adjust. Give it like a couple of weeks and then make a decision if you want to keep those settings or not. So that's how I have all my picture settings calibrated, and that's how I will be reviewing videos moving forward from here. Now, in terms of the sound, like I said, I've got a THX receiver. I've got 2 floor standing speakers either side of the telly. I got the surround 2, and I've got a center kind of small 2 ones. They're all THX certified, and I don't have a subwoofer because I got floor standing speakers, and the room that I'm in doesn't really need a subwoofer, to be honest, because the floor standing ones are bassy enough, and that gives me a really good surround. I really do hear the difference between the formats of stereo, 5.1, Pro Logic surround. It doesn't unfortunately do DTS, so I have to tell my player to encode that into a PCM stream, and then the player will throw it to a surround channel setup. But I don't have the ability to listen to pure DTS, which may come into problem in the future if there's only DTS tracks, but I still will hear the sound, but it won't be as the DTS should be. But I'm totally happy with the surround setup that I have got, and yeah, that's basically my setup. I do have a projector as well, and I probably will be plugging that up when I eventually get a Laserdisc player and projecting Laserdisc. I think that's the best way to enjoy that format. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this and enduring me going on about picture settings. If you disagree or you have any opinion that is different from mine, put it down below in the comments below and I will get back to you. But make those changes and see what you think, and feedback to me if you like or dislike. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.